Good morning, dear students. This video aims at familiarizing you with the paper 5th A, Linguistics and English Language Teaching. It is an optional paper, that is why it is prerequisite that you acquire a suitable and essential knowledge of the said paper. Another option that we run in the department is paper 5th B, which is American Literature. It's a traditional paper where you study poetry, drama, and fiction. It is advised that you thoroughly go through the papers before opting for any one of them. Both papers are equally scoring. Securing good marks depends upon your interest and diligence. Well, I've been allotted paper 5th A, so let us have a quick glance at it as to what and all we are going to discuss together. So this is MA Final English paper 5th A, Linguistics and English Language Teaching. As you can see on the slide, the syllabus aims at achieving the following objectives: to develop understanding of linguistic concepts, methods, and approaches, and apply this understanding to the construction and analysis of meanings in different modes of communication and language learning. To prepare students for taking up English language teaching as their career and also make them fit for other jobs as well. It is believed that those who opt for this paper, or in fact who do masters in English, usually go for teaching as a career. So this paper is going to help you there, because here we teach different teaching methods and approaches. We teach you linguistic concepts like competence and performance, long and parole, so on and so forth. So now let us see the actual paper. Section A. Section A is in fact about linguistics, definition of linguistics, nature and scope of linguistics. Then we have some major linguistic concepts such as long and parole, competence and performance, synchrony and diachrony, syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations. So these are different concepts. In fact, the first one is the knowledge that you possess, and the second one denotes your actual utterances, the way you use your knowledge. Number 3, phonetics. Here we shall study description of vowels, diphthongs and consonants, phonetic transcription of words and sentences. This I have already covered up, so you are well familiar with this topic, phonetics. We have discussed this in quite detail in around 16-17 videos. And we have suprasegmental features. You already done segmental features. Segmental features include study of phonemes and morphemes. Now we are going to study suprasegmental features, which include stress, rhythm, and intonation. Stress you are familiar with. Stress is in fact the word accent, and rhythm is the relationship between stressed and unstressed syllables. As far as intonation is concerned, it is rise and fall of pitch. While we speak, English is not a flat language. It is an accented language. That is why we have rise and fall of pitch. This rise and fall of pitch is called as intonation. We shall be discussing it, so I will not tell you each and every word, like what does it mean. For example, say synchrony studies language at a given time, without considering historical aspect, whereas diachrony studies language changes through time, that is historically. And see, this word is also new, I think, for you, long and parole. Long, you may say, language, it denotes language as a system rather than language in use. The formal rules of structure and limitations of language as well. And parole is the actual use. The utterances are instances of parole. Okay, and same is or sorry, same can be said about competence and performance, and syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations. They are in fact the words in association. Well, we move on to section B. This unit is going to be very interesting. Okay, section B. Section B. We have sociolinguistics, and language variation, such as code, dialect, and sociolect, isogloss, registers, idiolect, diglossia, pidgin, creole, etc. Sociolinguistics refers to the way a language is used in society. It is the study of the sociological aspects of language. Sociolinguistics discusses the role language plays in maintaining the social roles in a community. In other words, sociolinguistics is the descriptive study of the effect of any and all aspects of society, including cultural norms, expectations, and context on the way language is used, and society's effect on language. It differs from sociology of language, which focuses on the effect of language on society. This is important. Why does it differs? Differs from sociology of language because sociology of language focuses on the effect of language on society, whereas we are here concerned with effect of society on language. Okay, this is what we study in sociolinguistics. And language variation, well, language variation is a core concept of sociolinguistics. Language variation takes place as a result of differences in the social characteristics of the speakers using the language. The term language variation refers to regional, social, cultural, or contextual differences in the ways that a particular language is used. Age, education, or no education, or region also cause variation in language of the speakers. I say age. Why? Because you must have seen that people, like who are mature, who are elderly, they speak they speak in a very controlled manner. They use say selected words in their speech, whereas this is not the case with the youngsters. So you can see the variation there within the family also. The use of vocabulary, the use of language, you have variation within the family as well. And even education, education plays a very vital role. In fact, those who are educated, their speech is altogether different from those who are illiterate. Illiterate, yes, who are not educated, you may say. So this is what we are going to study, and these, these terms are going to be very interesting. Well, code you already studied in your first year literature, like code mixing and code switching. Code mixing is mixing of words and phrases of two different languages. For example, students, or say in fact youngsters, even adults, I must say, they tend to mix up words and phrases of two different languages like Hindi and English. Even ads that you see on television, they also have this code mixing, like dil mange more, for example. Dil mange more. More is an English word, whereas dil mange is a Hindi phrase. Or say even the say titles of the film, like Jab We Met. Okay, Jab is a Hindi word. We met is in fact an English phrase. And say same is with Namaste London, for instance. So there can be a number of examples of code mixing. And then we have code switching also. Code switching is something very common with the non-native speakers of English. For instance, they would be speaking English for some time, say for a couple of minutes, then they switch over to their mother tongue, then they again switch over to the second language, that is the foreign language. So this thing is called as code switching. Okay. Then you have dialect. Well, dialect refers to a non-standard variety of a language spoken by a particular group of speakers. Here, even in your own city, you have, say, different dialects spoken by people. Like, you have Haryanvi dialect, you have Mewati dialect, for example, or say Punjabi dialect even. Punjabi is a language also, but where like the variety of a language is not a standardized one, and is spoken by just a particular group or a specific group or a small group, you call it a dialect. And sociolect again is a dialect which is associated with a particular social class. This can be termed as sociolect. Well, then you have isogloss. Isogloss is the geographical boundary of a certain linguistic feature on a map. What is it? The geographical boundary of a certain linguistic feature on a map. Like, there are people who speak with a different accent and they have a different dialect, and you can even say bifurcate them or have a demarcating line, or you can have a geographical boundary, in fact, of this group, because it's totally different from the people who are say beyond this geographical boundary. Then you have registers. This is a common word. You must have heard this before. The style of a language used in a particular context is called as register. Then you have idiolect. Idiolect, the language or speech of one individual at a particular period in life. This is important. Okay, I repeat, the language or speech of one individual at a particular period in life is referred as idiolect. Yeah, ideo is individual, like idiosyncrasy and all. You know the word. Well, then you have diglossia. Diglossia, literally, it means division of the tongue. Division of the tongue. But here, in fact, if I go by the pragmatics, then I must say diglossia is in fact the coexistence of two languages or dialects in a community. The coexistence of two languages or dialects in a community. You must have seen, people are like, they speak not only one dialect, but they speak two dialects, and they are quite comfortable with these two dialects. So wherever you have the coexistence of two languages or two dialects in a community, you call it diglossia. Like people here in your own city of Alwar, they speak Mewati and Haryanvi dialect with at ease. They're quite comfortable in both these dialects, Haryanvi and Mewati. So you can call it diglossia for that matter. And then you have pidgin. Pidgin, this is pronounced as pigeon. Okay, D is silent here. And this is an artificial language, in fact, you must say artificial language used for trade between speakers of different languages. Like, when people were going for trade to other nations, other countries, then they would meet people and they wouldn't understand their language. So they wouldn't understand. So, they would communicate through signs, and they would develop their own symbols, words and phrases. So this would be this would be peculiar to them. We call it pidgin. This is an artificial language, you may say, and this was developed by the sailors, tradesmen, and all. Yeah. So this is Pidgin, and then you have Creole. Creole is again a very familiar term. When Pidgin becomes lingua franca, it is called as Creole. When Pidgin becomes lingua franca means a common language spoken by people in a certain area. It is called as Creole. For example, Caribbean Creole, which you are familiar with, Caribbean Creole. Yes. So this is what we have in section B, and then we move on to section C. Here the topics that you have, they are totally based on ELT, that is English language teaching, and they are kept, in the syllabus, and this unit is kept there in the syllabus because it is expected that most of you would take teaching as your career, so this is going to help you there. All teachers, before becoming teachers, they go through these methods and approaches. Although when we come to practical teaching, like we do not follow any particular approach or method, because teaching is something eclectic. You like devise methods and approaches according to your own need, and the need is not the same in every classroom that you teach, so it differs. However, it's a must for students of English language, ELT, I mean, to understand these topics. The first one is principles of English language teaching. Principles of there are different principles, that there are different matters, like what topic you should select, and say how should you grade your material, how should you select your material, things like that. This is principles of English language teaching. And those who do like bachelor's in education, they are familiar with these topics, because these topics are taught in bachelor's of education and master's of education, and those who do research in education for that matter. Then you have error analysis. Error analysis is analysis of learners' error with a clear objective to minimize them. Like, students might commit errors in nouns, prepositions, adjectives. So how to minimize the errors? This is what we study in error analysis. We analyze the learners' errors, students' errors that which they commit, and then we devise strategies uh, how to get rid of, or how to elevate those errors, do away with those errors. Then you have testing. You have language testing techniques. You have different tests. You have objective type tests. You have multiple choice questions, MCQs. You have formal tests. You have informal tests. You have diagnostic tests, proficiency tests. Different tests you devise there in your classroom to test your students, or for the feedback whether the material that has been taught in the classroom has really been learned by the students or not. This is what you do in testing. Then you have 4 skills of learning. 4 skills of learning, you ought to have a very clear-cut idea of 4 skills of learning. This is LSRW. LSRW. L is learning, S is speaking, and R is reading, and W is writing. This is the sequence. This is how we learn the 4 skills of language. These are the 4 skills. First, we listen to people around us, so we listen to them. So this is listening. Then we learn the speech. This is called as speaking. This is called as speaking. And then you learn to read, and then you learn to write finally. So this is the natural way of learning a language. This is how you learn your mother tongue. And it is great if you could learn even the foreign language this way. And if you learn the foreign language this way, you really are going to do wonder. Means you can be a very good say speaker. You can be a very good writer. So the best way is to learn a language in this sequence: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Okay. Then, lastly, you have effective techniques of teaching a poem, an essay, or a short story. because they are different genre of literature and they are not taught the same way. Poem is taught differently from prose. So you adopt effective techniques of teaching when you teach a poem, an essay, or a short story, or drama for that matter. Okay, so this is what we have here, and then we move on to the last section, that's the section D. Here you have methods and approaches of English language teaching. Methods and approaches of English language. This again is based on ELT. So the last two units, section C and section D, are based on English language teaching. So this is going to play a very nice role. I mean, this is going to help you to make you better teachers, because you are future teachers of English, and these two units are going to help you there. Well, translation method, you are very well aware of. Translation method is you translate each and every word that you come across in the English textbook to make your students understand it. This is translation method. People still use it, and some they are against it. They call it obsolete, and they in fact who say that this is obsolete and this is not good are the advocates of direct method. Number two, direct method. Direct method means teaching English through English, teaching a foreign language through English. That means you don't use your mother tongue words and phrases to make your students understand it. And sometimes it's not possible to adhere to direct method, so some teachers adopt to bilingual method as well. They mix up two methods together. Bilingual is like teaching English using both mother tongue and English language, the target language. This is called as bilingual method. When like you are not very strict about using the target language all the time in the classroom, you take refuge to bilingual method. That means you use both the languages. But in bilingual method, students are not allowed to speak in Hindi or say in their mother tongue. Only teacher uses the mother tongue, okay, or the language that his students understand or her students understand. Okay. Then you have audiolingual method. Audiolingual method. Audiolingual method. It is also called as oral approach to language teaching. The objective of this method is to attain mastery over the rules of grammar. Grammar, because it's a backbone of any language. So to attain mastery over the rules of grammar and to speak correct language with accurate pronunciation. So pronunciation, speaking or attaining right pronunciation is the aim of audiolingual method. It aims at developing listening and speaking skills of the students. They listen to their teachers very attentively and they try to imitate the way they speak. So this is what we do in this method, audiolingual method. So the last one, no, this one is the second last, situational approach. Situational approach. In situational approach, a teacher applies his skills and creativity to bring out an image out of text while teaching a language class. For example, if he is teaching about, say, a poem on trees, then he would show trees to his students, which would be outside his classroom. So what does he do? He creates situations, a teacher, to make his students understand the English concepts, words, or especially vocabulary. In fact, teachers choose and create appropriate teaching situation in order to arouse the interest of the students in learning the second language. Suitable scenes are created and exhibited in the classroom and students are made to imagine and think. Okay, this is what we do in situational teaching. Then you have communicative language teaching. Like they are given in a sequence. You have translation method, you have direct method, you have bilingual method, you have audiolingual, situational, then communicative. This is how they have developed. So they are in a way improvement over the previous methods. Translation method is considered to be the oldest. That's why it is given at the top, and the communicative language teaching isn't that old. That's why it is there towards the end. This came up around, say, after the 1960s, and it's still very popular. CLT, we call it CLT, communicative language teaching. CLT emphasizes upon interaction in the target language as both the means and ultimate goal of study. Because what's the ultimate aim? Ultimate aim is to achieve mastery in the target language. That is why emphasis is given upon interaction. The students, they speak in the target language. They are made to speak. They are made to communicate. That's why it's called as communicative. It aims at having students become communicatively competent in the target language. The students are given tasks to accomplish using language instead of studying the language. Yeah, they do not study the language, they rather use the language. By this I mean that they are encouraged, they are aroused, they are prompted to speak in the target language more and more. It's a totally interactive method, and they are made to communicate with the facilitator, the instructor. So teacher is not a teacher here, he is a facilitator. It promotes meaningful communication, and it aims at achieving discourse competence. You may say discourse competence means the students are taught to speak in English. Discourse is dialogue, competence is the knowledge, the proficiency. So this method aims at achieving discourse competence. So this is what we have in the last unit. Then you have suggested reading. I have given a number of books there in the suggested reading. So it's not feasible to go through all those books. So you can do one thing, like you can get hold of a few books, say just 3 and 4. Like I can very well see the second book. This you might find very easy and accessible also. This is S.K. Verma's Linguistics. This you can get hold of. And even Greenbaum is widely available. It's a very popular book. You have studied it in your previous classes as well. But here we will refer to only Appendix 6, and that is also for suprasegmental features. That is for learning stress, intonation, rhythm, and all. Yes. Then yes, it will be great if you could get hold of material on linguistics and phonetics from CFO, that is Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages. Well, then you have you can get hold of Tariq Rahman's Linguistics for Beginners. This is a nice elementary book on linguistics. So this you can purchase Tariq Rahman's Linguistics for Beginners, and then yes, you can even go for R.N. Ghosh, Introduction to English Language Teaching Methods at College Level. This book is going to help you there in say section C and section D of your paper, Introduction to English Language Teaching Methods at College Level. This is a good book, R.N. Ghosh's. Even A.L. Kohli's book, Techniques of Teaching English, is also good and very easy to understand. Then the last book that you can purchase is you know, you would be surprised, and like you would think that I'm suggesting you only the books by the Indian authors. I'm doing so deliberately, you know, so that you can understand, you can comprehend them well. Here, you know, you do not have bazaar notes. Like you won't find Rajaram, Ramji Lal, or say the Google Tilak or Essene and different the books. Here, such books are not available on language or linguistics or the English language teaching. You have books by Indian authors, and they are not the bazaar notes. They are the actual books, in fact, and they are easy to understand. That is why I'm advising you to buy them, like R.K. Jain's Essential of English Language Teaching. This again is a very good book. This is on ELT, English Language Teaching. Okay, so this was the paper which I explained to you. Before you opt for this paper, it's better that you listen to this video, watch this video, and decide yourself like which paper you should go for, either linguistics or American literature. And my intention was to familiarize you with the paper. That is why, you know, I have explained the terms that are there in the paper. I think this video is going to help you. Okay, good luck. Thank you.